Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Frogtown Rips. What I want to talk to you about today are three huge mistakes that people make when they're starting an eBay store selling sports cards. I'm going to tell you about the three mistakes that I made. Hopefully you can avoid those same pitfalls. So with that, here we go. Alright, so the first thing you really need to think about is time. The one thing I really didn't think about, I'm a very impatient person. I was expecting to just post it, sell it, get it out, get the money, be good to go. A lot of things that go into that you don't really think about, that you really need to think about before you start your eBay store. Even if you're not going to start a store, if you're just going to be selling from a regular account, if you don't want to start a store, it still takes a lot of time. So you got to think about what you're going to sell. Once you figure out what you're going to sell, you're going to have to scan it in somehow. You have to get it, be able to upload it to your account. Once you find that, then you're going to have to be able to list it. You're going to have to go through and make sure that you have the right listing for each item that you're putting in there. If you're doing sports cards, it has all sorts of different items that you can check, to select, to make sure that when people do searches that they're able to find it. Once you get that done, then you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to comp it. You're going to have to go through and look, whatever you're using, 130 point, whether you're using eBay sales, whatever you're using, you're going to have to go down and comp it. Once you get it comped, then what do you want to sell? What do you want to sell it for? You have to put your price in. You have to figure out what's best for you. You put that price in there. Once you get that, now once you're going to get ready to sell it, now you list it. Okay, if you do an auction, now you got to wait 7 days, 3 days, 5 days, 1 day, whatever you're doing for the auction. If you're not going to, if you do a bin, if you buy it now, then you're going to have to wait for somebody to buy it, somebody to find it. If you're not going to do that, if you're going to allow offers, now you got to go with somebody. If somebody gives you an offer, are you going to accept it? Are you going to counter offer? What are you going to do? That takes time. If you counter offer, then they have some time to look at it. They think it over. They're going to counter offer with you. Then you have to accept it. Once it's accepted, once you actually sell it, now you have to wait for the buyer to pay. Once the buyer pays, now you got to figure out, okay, did they do the shipping? Now you got to pay for the shipping. You have to pay for the shipping. You have to get the shipping label. Once you get the shipping label, you got to print it out. Now you got to pack it. Now you have to get everything you had. You got to get your supplies. Make sure you get the right card. Make sure you're supplying it. Make sure you get it wrapped the way it's supposed to be. You want to have a good reputation, so you make sure you do it the right way. Get it out there. Once you now have it wrapped, now it's ready to go. Once it's ready to sell, now you got to get it to the post office, right? You got to get it to the post office. You got to pay for that postage. You got to get it there. You have to make sure that they're ready to go. Once it's sold, once it's ready to go, now it's shipped. Drop it off. Then you sit back and you wait, okay? Once it's now it's got to be delivered. Now it's got to be delivered. It has to get there. You track it. If it's going out of the country, it takes even longer. Depending on how you sell it, how you send it, whether it's first class, whether it's priority, whatever it is, now you got to take time to get there. You got to wait for it to get there. Once it gets there, make sure that they pick it up. Once it's picked up, then once all that's done, then you're finally going to get paid, depending on how long it takes. Sometimes it's going to take up to a week. If you're doing an auction, you're to do a week plus the time that it gets there. You might not get paid for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So just one of the things that you really have to consider when you start selling is time. Time is valuable. Time is money. You want to make sure that you have yours budgeted so you can do the best that you want to do. All right. So the second thing you really need to consider, I didn't think about this, but it's a huge consideration when you're thinking about selling on eBay, probably any other platform too, but eBay in particular, are the fees. The fees there's fees for everything. Everything you want to do pretty much on eBay selling is going to be fees. Now, I will say this. I sold a little bit. If you've watched a little bit of the videos, you know I'm trying to rebuild. I've been in the hobby for a while. I tried buying and selling on eBay years ago, had some bad experiences, but back then you had to deal with paying yourself. You had to find somebody that was either taking credit cards, or if it was person to person, you had to have a PayPal account. You had to send it through PayPal. There was different ways that you could do it. You could get screwed here and there. But now eBay takes care of all that for you. They take care of all the payment options. They'll take care of it. If there's an issue with a return, somebody's not happy, they'll deal with it. The fees that they're charging, in my opinion, are well worth it. But you don't understand what they are until you research them and really get into it. So, for instance, you sell a card, and it's just in the trading card industry. The different categories are different, but the trading card on eBay, which is a big industry that they have going on, the fee to sell a card is 13.2%, 13.25%. On top of that, you pay 30 cents. So depending on how much you pay, now there's a cap on it. You're not going to pay, $100,000 on a card, but you still have to take that into effect. Now here's the other thing with that fee. It doesn't just go from the selling cost. So if you sell a card for, say, $1,000, they're not going to charge you 13.25% and 30 cents on that $1,000. First of all, they're going to charge your shipping. So depending on how you're shipping, whether it's excuse me, whether you're adding in a signature, whether you're doing insurance, whatever the shipping cost is, that goes on top of your selling cost. On top of that, they're going to charge sales tax. So that final cost, now they're going to charge you your 13.25%, and then you have to figure that in. And a lot of times, you can use the shipping to cover some of those fees, but you have to account for those big fees. So, for instance, I had a Ohtani autograph that I'm looking to sell for $2,000. So if I sell that $2,000, I'm gonna have to pay the sales tax, or they're gonna charge the sales tax that I don't get back. I'm still kind of figuring that one out because I've never held a business before. But at the end of the year, I'm gonna get a tax form. Hopefully I can get the sales tax back. I don't know how that really works yet, but they charge sales tax and then the shipping. So on that $2,000, maybe with the sales tax and the shipping, it's the total price is going to be $2,000. So now they're going to charge me 13% on the $2,100, and it's going to go back. Now, one of the other fees, because I haven't established myself as a seller, I decided to promote it through eBay, which was another 6%. So basically, when I sell this card, it's going to cost me 20%. So if my final cost is $2,100, you got to take the 20% off of that. It's going to be $420 off of that $1,600. I'm only going to get, I'm going to get back the 14 or the 15 with the 1520, 1580 out of the 2,100. So it's worth it, but it's a big chunk. You got to take that in consideration. The other fees, just about anything that you're going to do in selling a card on eBay is going to cost you a fee, right? If you want to promote it, if you go over your selling limit, you have to pay an insertion fee. There's all sorts of fees that go with everything. Just about everything is going to have a fee. If you want to have a store, you're going to pay a subscription fee. You can pay anywhere from for the $495 up to $3,000 to have whatever store that you want. As many as high a limit as you want to put on that, and how much help you want from eBay. If you want to sell overseas, you want to sell international, it's going to cost you. Anything you sell outside the United States is going to cost you a fee. You want to go to auction, say you don't want to do buy it now, you want to go to auction. Just about everything you do on an auction over and above is going to cost you a fee. If you want to go from, let's say, typically it's a 7-day, if you want to drop it down to a 5, a 3, or a 1 day, there's a fee attached to it. If you want to put a reserve on your auction item, there's a fee attached to it. Anything that you pretty much going to do is going to have a fee. But like I said, I feel that it's worth it. There are so many things that eBay does for you that justifies those fees. Yeah, they might be a little high, but it just takes the burden off of a lot of things that you're going to do. And just remember, everything that you do is going to have a fee. And basically, just make sure that you understand. Research if you're going to start an eBay store, or if you're just going to sell. Make sure you're researching. Make sure you know what those fees are going to be, so you can adjust your prices accordingly, so you can maximize your profits. Okay. Okay. Lastly, and most important, the number 3 thing. You have to know and understand what your listing limit is. If you're a new seller, if you have a new store, eBay is going to limit the number of items that you can list. They do it for good reason. They want to make sure that you can get a good system in place where you can fulfill orders. They don't want you to overextend yourself. But it doesn't matter what level of subscription you have, you can still only list a certain number of items until you established yourself in the eBay system. So for me, I didn't know that, didn't understand it. I bought a basic subscription thinking I could list 1,000 items per month. If you're like me, you have thousands and thousands of cards from anywhere from $1 to $5 to $10 to $20. So you want to get those listed as fast as possible. Well, as I started listing them, I wasn't really paying attention to the bottom. I just thought, well, I got 1,000. Well, got to the beginning of March and I looked down and it said I only had 50 listings left, and it was March 2nd. So I'm like, I didn't understand that, so I went and I started to research it, and I found out that that limit is there per month until you can build it up. Now, if you list that number, you can still sell what is already in your store. You just can't go back and edit it, change the price, any of that until the next month. So your best bet is to do a good, be a good service, get good reviews, build your level up. So when they review it every month, hopefully they can add more limits. So it's a good thing to know what your limit is, because if you want to scale quickly, you're not going to be able to do that until you can get it up to where you need to be, right? So everything we've talked about with these selling limits, it goes back to that number one pitfall that we talked about, was time. So once you've established yourself, it's not going to be that big an issue, because you're going to be able to list whatever you need to do, you get it going. But until that time, you want to make sure you understand what your limits are so you can maximize your listings that you're getting out there, so you get the max amount of profit and get it out there as fast and as quick as possible, so you can build that rating. So at the next month, month over month, that you're starting to increase your limit that you're allowed to list. So hopefully this helps you out a little bit. These were the top 3 things that I kind of had to deal with that really, I'm not going to say hindered me, but were things that I didn't understand when I started my store, when I started my subscriptions and started listing, and started to do some of the U-picks and populating all my listings before I really realized that I was running out. So if this helps you at all, and you're going to get started, go ahead and subscribe, because I'm going to do some more things here. Going to do some more packaging, or some more openings. Going to do some more of these things. I got some more things to talk about from the shops when I work there. Leave a comment down below if you will. Give it a like, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Peace.